All right, so today we're going to be diving into this whole thing about emotions. Like, why do some things just blow up online?
Yeah.
You ever notice how you just feel this urge to share like a video or an article? You just have to show it to someone. Turns out there's some real science behind it. And like a lot of it has to do with how these things make us feel.
You know, it's interesting how these really powerful emotions, these high arousal ones like excitement or awe or even like anger, they seem to really drive what we choose to share.
So it's not just about the content itself, but it's about how that content actually makes us feel.
Yeah, precisely. Think about it like those videos that just leave you breathless or the ones that just make you laugh out loud. Those are the ones you want to send to a friend, right? It's like
Yeah.
we're programmed to pass on those kind of intense feelings.
Yeah, totally makes sense. But what about like when we share things that make us angry? That seems a little bit counterintuitive.
Well, that's where things get really interesting, I think. Anger, when it's like genuine and relatable, can be a huge motivator. It can even spark movements, and hold brands accountable. Remember that United Breaks Guitars video?
Oh yeah, the musician who wrote the song about the airline damaging his guitar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And his frustration really resonated with millions of people who had like similar experiences. The video went super viral, damaged the airline's reputation, and kind of forced them to take a hard look at their customer service.
So anger, when it's channeled effectively, can be a force for good almost.
Absolutely. It just shows the power of like tapping into a collective emotion and giving people a voice. It's not always anger, of course.
Wow.
Think about Susan Boyle's first audition on Britain's Got Talent.
Oh, that was incredible. Her voice was so unexpected and the judges' reactions were just priceless.
Exactly. That sense of awe, that I can't believe what I'm seeing kind of feeling was so contagious. People shared it because they wanted others to experience that same sense of wonder.
So we've got awe, we've got anger. What about something a little lighter, like humor? I always think about those Panda cheese commercials. I still can't get over the panda flipping the shopping cart.
Those are so brilliant. They're absurd. They're unexpected. They're totally memorable. And that kind of humor just begs to be shared. It's pure amusement that like sticks with you.
There's a pattern here, it seems like. It's not just about being funny or shocking. It's about evoking a strong reaction, whether it's positive or negative.
You're totally right. It's these high arousal emotions. They trigger something in us. It makes us want to connect with other people and share that experience.
Okay, so we've got those powerful emotions driving those shares. What about content that's not necessarily emotionally charged, but super useful?
You're hitting on another key element here, and that's practical value.
Hmm.
People love to share information that is helpful, things that can make life easier or solve a problem.
Like that video of the older gentleman showing how to remove corn silk. Simple, but so effective.
Exactly. Ken Craig, his corn trick, became a huge sensation, especially among older viewers who appreciated the practicality of it. It goes to show, even without intense emotions, valuable information has viral power.
It's funny you mentioned that. I once overheard two hikers deep in the woods discussing the best vacuum cleaners. I guess we are hardwired to share those helpful tips no matter where we are.
Yeah, and that speaks to this fundamental human drive to connect and help others. We share information because it feels good to be useful, to contribute. It's a form of social currency, you could say.
So we've got these high arousal emotions on the one hand, and this like inherent desire to share useful information on the other. Both are powerful forces shaping what goes viral.
And that leads us to another crucial ingredient, storytelling. Think of stories kind of like Trojan horses for information. They carry important messages within a really engaging narrative, which makes them stick in our minds.
Like that Subway Jared campaign. His weight loss journey eating Subway sandwiches was so compelling.
Right. It wasn't just about the product, it was about his personal journey. People connected with that story and kind of subconsciously absorbed that brand message.
So it's about making that brand like a crucial part of the story, not just a little footnote at the end.
Exactly. Think back to the Panda cheese commercials again. Hilarious and memorable, but they also directly tie back to the product. You can't separate the panda from the cheese.
It's so different from those stunts that just grab your attention but don't connect to a brand at all, like that Fool in the Pool incident at the Olympics. Funny to watch, but no one remembers the casino he was promoting.
Yeah. It's a prime example of wasted potential. Highlights the importance of aligning your message, your story, and your brand. You want the virality to work for you, not against you. Now, if we're thinking practically, how can we make this work for our own content?
That's a great question. I'm ready to start putting all these principles into practice.
So let's get into some practical strategies for actually making your own content emotionally engaging.
Okay, yeah, let's get tactical. I like it. So where do we even start?
So first things first, you need to decide what emotion you want to evoke in your audience. What feeling do you want them to walk away with? Joy, inspiration, maybe a sense of urgency. You got to choose one and then really tailor your content to fit.
So it's about being intentional, not
Mhm.
just hoping that it all works out.
Exactly. Once you have that specific emotion in mind, you got to think, how can you weave that into a compelling story?
Because stories are always so much better than just like listing a bunch of facts, right?
100%. People connect with narratives, with characters and conflicts and resolutions. Think about Dove's evolution campaign. It was a video showing the transformation of a model through all this makeup and Photoshop, and it sparked this huge conversation about unrealistic beauty standards.
Yeah, that was powerful. It wasn't just like selling soap. It was challenging how we all view beauty.
Exactly. And they tapped into a very sensitive and relevant issue, and they did it authentically. They weren't lecturing, they were participating in a conversation that was already happening. That's what made it so impactful.
So find that sweet spot where your brand message kind of aligns with the story people are already ready to share.
Now, when we think about some common pitfalls that we might want to avoid, I think one of the biggest ones is going for shock value just for the sake of it.
You mean like trying to be super outrageous or controversial just to get attention?
Exactly. And that can really backfire. It can come off as desperate, inauthentic, even alienate your audience. You want to go viral for the right reasons.
Another trap I see a lot is being way too promotional, like shoving the product down people's throats instead of letting the story kind of do the work.
It's a tough balance. You want people to remember your brand, but you don't want to be too heavy-handed about it. Think about those infomercials that try to disguise a sales pitch as a story. It's just so obvious.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
So how do we strike that balance then?
Well, you got to integrate the brand organically into that narrative. Let the story do the heavy lifting, and the brand will just naturally come along for the ride.
Be subtle and trust your audience to connect the dots.
Okay, so another thing to keep in mind is timing and relevance. Even the best story in the world is going to flop if it doesn't resonate with what's happening in the world or in your audience's lives.
It's like telling a joke that's not funny anymore.
Exactly. So pay attention to those current events, social trends, what your audience is actually talking about. Be a good listener.
Be present and engaged with the world around you, basically.
Okay, so now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some more specific tactics to make your content more shareable. We talked about visuals, but they are so important, it's worth emphasizing again.
Yeah, and the age of social media, visuals are like everything. They capture attention so quickly.
You got to use those high-quality images and videos that are not only visually appealing, but also evoke that desired emotion. Think about the composition, the color, the lighting, it all plays a role.
Yeah, it's not just about aesthetics. It's about telling the story visually.
Another tactic is to make your content super easy to digest. Break it down into little bite-sized chunks.
Like bullet points, subheadings, short paragraphs. Anything that makes it easy to scan and understand.
And don't forget to include a really strong call to action. Tell people what you want them to do. Share, comment, subscribe. Make it easy for them to engage and spread the word.
Don't be afraid to ask for what you want.
Now remember, different platforms, they have different audiences and different expectations. What works on Instagram might not work on LinkedIn. You gotta adapt your content accordingly.
It's all about knowing your audience and the platform that you are using.
Think about the format, tone, and the visual style that suits each platform. Use the unique features that they have, like Instagram stories for behind-the-scenes content, or going live on Facebook to connect with your audience in real time.
And don't forget about hashtags. Hashtags can really help people discover your content.
Use a mix of general and specific hashtags to reach a wider audience. It's like using keywords to help people find what they are actually looking for.
I feel like we've covered so much ground today, from the science of emotion to storytelling, and now all these practical tactics for making our content shareable.
It's about finding that sweet spot, a really compelling story, powerful visuals, and a deep understanding of your audience.
It's a challenge, but when you get it right, the results can be amazing.
There's one more thing I think we need to discuss, and that's making your content actually stick.
Right, it's one thing to get people's attention, but how do we create content they remember long after they've seen it?
Well, think about those urban legends or those catchy jingles you just can't get out of your head.
Oh, like the Kit Kat jingle, give me a break, give me a break.
Exactly. Simple, memorable, directly tied to the product. So how do we create content that has that staying power? Content that really embeds itself in people's minds?
Yeah, I'm all ears. What are those secrets?
Well, repetition is a super powerful tool. Repeating key phrases or slogans or even visuals helps reinforce the message and makes it way more memorable.
Like a chorus in a song gets stuck in your head.
You can also tap into existing cultural references or memes. People are already familiar with them, so it's easier for them to connect with your content and remember it.
It's like you're speaking a language they already understand.
And don't be afraid to be a little weird, a little unexpected. Things that are out of the ordinary, they tend to stick in people's minds more.
Like those Super Bowl commercials that go for the bizarre or hilarious.
Exactly. They stand out because they are breaking the mold. And finally, encourage interaction and engagement. Ask questions, run contests, create those opportunities for people to participate and share their own experiences.
Yeah, the more people interact with your content, the more likely they are to remember it.
It becomes a dialogue, a shared experience.
So making it stick is about creating a sense of community around your content.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
I'm ready for that question. Hit me with it.
So, we've been talking about emotion, right? Especially these high arousal emotions and how they can be used to create viral content. It just makes me wonder, what if we focused more on the positive emotions? Could we make a world where viral content inspires and uplifts instead of just grabs your attention?
That is a really interesting thought. I think it's so easy to get caught up in the whole race for views and shares. We sometimes forget about the actual impact our content is having.
Right. Imagine a world where the things that are shared the most are filled with stories about kindness and compassion and human connection. Where the videos make us want to be better people and the articles leave us feeling hopeful and empowered.
Yeah, instead of scrolling through all this negativity and outrage, we could be sharing content that makes us feel good. It makes the world a better place.
Yeah. And obviously there's still room for content that, exposes injustice and raises awareness about important issues. But what if we balance that with an equal amount of positivity and inspiration?
I really love that idea. Using the power of emotion for good. Not just for clicks and shares, but for creating a ripple effect of positive change.
Think about the impact that would have. If the stuff we consumed and shared actually uplifted us instead of dragging us down, if it sparked conversations that mattered and made us want to take action.
Yeah, it's a beautiful vision. And I think it's something that we can all play a part in.
Absolutely. So as you go out there and create your own content, think about, what emotion do I want people to feel? What story do I want to tell? And how can I use my voice to make a positive impact?
Yeah, it's a challenge, but it's definitely a challenge worth taking on. I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to go out and create content that really connects and makes a difference.
Remember, we all have the power to kind of shape the conversation. Let's use it wisely.
Well, that's it for our deep dive today into the world of emotion and viral marketing. We hope you learned something new and are feeling inspired to create content that really resonates with people.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep sharing, and keep making those emotions work for you.
And remember, a little bit of awe, a little bit of amusement, and a whole lot of inspiration can go a really long way.
Goodbye, everybody. Happy sharing.